Okay, there we go. Now I have the right permission. Okay, welcome to today's meeting. So let me just officially start the meeting for today. Now I can share the screen. Perfect. Yeah. So I saw like Daniel also come today. And Kevin, like long time no see. Yeah, actually, like I think we also have the community manager like want to reach out to you guys for some community work. That's very nice. I send your information to her, like so that we can have more more materials like for the community as well. But like for today's meeting, I will let me just give some updates on the project. First of all, we are approaching I think not much on the spec side, but on the implementation, the Kubela side, there is a yeah, okay. We have a V1.1 release coming soon. The release is most about actually all the features are complete. We are just writing a lot of docs for it. So the docs are expected to complete this week, and official release this week as well. Expected this week as well. This release is mostly about the new workflow design. So like if you're interested, I can show you a doc for it. It's mostly about the workflow. Like in the workflow, we can actually like use the Q language to define like all the process to say, yeah, I want to apply this component. I want to like iterate through all the resources and wait for it to ready. And for more complex cases, we can also do like a multi-stage rollout and traffic split, etc. Yeah, this kind of thing. Yeah, so that's the one of the news. And besides that, yeah, we also, I don't have much thing to update for today's meeting. Like any one of you want to share anything or have any questions? Also like Daniel, I think you asked some questions about the community things last time. Yeah, maybe we can discuss that in today's meeting as well.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I put a question on Slack. I think it was. I feel that there is a lot of issues that are open on the spec side, not on the Kubela side, and I think that we should find a way to basically close, and by close I mean answering appropriately each of the issues, so that we can trace which are the different decisions and why some of the things are not going to be done or not. For example, as of today, it seems like the workflow approach that has been taken is the one that was initially presented as for Kubela, but the other alternative was not effectively discussed. Basically, was just say like, hey, this is another approach, that's okay, but there was no conclusion apart from not being, being kept as an issue. But I think we should find a way to basically go and check the issues. Some of them may be old, some of them may be relevant, but there should be a method basically to discuss this and select what is going on. And apart from that, I was also asking basically like, which is the roadmap, let's say for the spec, also from the spec side, more than the implementation side, on what is going to be the next release of OAM. So those are the two key points that I asked basically on Slack.
Yep, sure. Like I think first of all, I have been through the beginning of the stack like to today, so I probably have seen all the issues. Like most of the issues are kind of old. I mean like it's like created a long time ago, and then like they are actually resolved or like somehow like just migrate to other places or resolve in other places, but like just forget to close. So I feel like half of the issues could be closed. That's my that's my memory. Like we can
I suppose that there is a lot of cleanup for quite old issues, but my feeling is more on the recent.
Yeah, the rest of that is like there are some pending discussions and that should drive the evolution and more releases of the spec as well. So that's also about like what comes next in the spec and what's gonna be the roadmap for the spec. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the spec is about making a standardization like on what should be like the format of for application delivery, right? And previously we had the spec had the components and traits and also like all those kind of things to describe an application delivery. But now we also have workflow and those things. We sort of like advance quickly on the Kubevela side, which is an implementation, because we got a lot of feedback and a lot of feature requests in the Kubevela repo, and we just keep developing that. But at the end of the day, we also want to contribute that like better spec and discuss so that we can make a standard spec, a standard format to like for application delivery. So yeah, but would you like to draft some roadmap? I think for the next. So from my perspective, I would see like what happened in Kubevela right now. I would be like what we want to drive for the evolution for the spec, but also I want to get your opinions, get in the community, to see like what all of like in the community, like folks, what do you want for the spec to come next? Maybe we can start discussing a roadmap and for next release thing, right? But like, so like, is it gonna be like I think one of the most the forthcoming question is about what like are we gonna like is it the spec or gonna be all YAML, or we want to like more we want to include like more some advanced like just new things like Q into the spec as well, that we can say like we can use Q to describe this procedural operations like just like what we did in workflow. So as you can see, I have an example like for example in the workflow we also like in the workflow system we have like very complex operations to describe like this is wait, this is like apply and load and read, those kind of stuff. We also have like the data flow thing to describe like there's inputs, there's outputs from the steps, and also like this gonna take the output into the input for the next step to describe like to compose operations between steps, and in such a way we can do like data passing, we can do like multi-stage in like rollout, we can do multi-class like class management as well, like but that's sort of like the new things that's happening in the implementation side. Do you think like we can put this thing back to the spec, or we want to focus on the YAML side and then discuss what's coming in the spec?
I mean, this is probably more jumping to conclusions without looking, but for me, I think that we should be able to maintain a level in the standard that basically allows people to use OAM in such a way that if you are using a runtime that has something specific, you already have traits and things like that to extend the functionality, but adding just a scripting language just embedded in there where you can do everything, I would say it's more on the implementation side if you want to allow that in your runtime, not on the spec side, because at the end of the day, then it's like hey, it doesn't matter which is the entity, just write your script in here. So apart from that, I will say that at least in our case, a lot of our users are not able to basically use that feature. They don't have the knowledge to do that. So I will say this is, for us at least, will be some of the key aspects to bear in mind, like which is the final user of this functionality, because not all the developers, let's say, or DevOps would like to go into that place at least at the very beginning. Like for expert users, maybe good if you understand the risk, but maybe sometimes we are forgetting like how difficult it is for people to get to this level of proficiency.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, I think that we should have some kind of, let's say, open document, think in the community, something like that, like at least an initial proposal of the roadmap of the next iteration, so that it can guide further discussions on specific topics. Because at least from my point of view, unless we add some type of structure, it will cost a lot of time to reach a conclusion.
I see. Just like I will probably like we should start submit a proposal first, and then we can start discussion. Like but I think like besides the queue scripting side, I think there's something that's very common, like we define the steps, like that's define the steps. That's like what we did here, like step 1, step 2, and also like the data flow side. So like we have outputs and also like inputs. Like this thing is pretty common. We probably can start discussing that and include that into the spec, and let alone the scripting side to the runtime implementation choice, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I will go into the discussion first of the workflow proposal. When we reach that conclusion, because maybe there are some subtle differences in the final, let's say, iteration of the workflow. Why not? I mean, if it is deemed like it should be on the spec, it's not just a runtime thing, it's something that is useful independent of the runtime, I'm okay with that. Personally, I mean.
Right. And the workflow should be like, it's actually like probably workflow also should be like independent of the runtime. Okay. So go ahead.
I don't know. I always felt that the workflow stuff was overreaching, right? That it's not modeling the application. You're trying to model the application rollout, right? And
right.
It seemed to me that they were two different things. And I'm not sure that the workflow stuff belongs in the OAM spec. But.
Like we are talking about the old scope of the the previous scope of the OAM. That's what you describe. Like it's just describing like what resources the application contains. But like now we actually extend the scope to include what you say, like the rollout, because like one of the problem we are facing when we try to recommend OAM to our users is that they want to do like more complex operations, not just the simple traits. And for example, they say like, well, how can I do multi-stage rollout? How can I do multi-cluster management? How can I suspend the workflow to do some manual approval? Like,
yeah, I'm not questioning the value. I totally get the value. It's as a Oracle as a platform, and it seems to us that we may choose to implement the model part and not the workflow part, or do the workflow part completely differently. But if all this is bundled up in the the 1.1 spec has the workflow stuff in it, we can't say we're compliant unless we do the workflow the way the spec says. And it's not clear to us that we necessarily agree with the direction that's going.
I see.
So, so we may never be, you know, OAM 1.1 compliant because, you know, we don't implement the workflow part or whatever.
I
But
see.
like,
Yeah.
I think at certain, sorry, I think at certain point, like when we do the spec, like we introduce a concept, saying something like can be like optional or extended. So then like, even though they're in the spec, like the provider doesn't need to implement. So would that like a approach that like can support the workflow as well?
Yeah, that's also a good good suggestion as well, like optional or extended, right? Uh, just more proper extension, like fields or spec. So and can like might not be compliant. Really. Yeah, those are I would say that all valid concerns. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we sort of like just go maybe a little slow on the step like evolution side, but yeah, definitely I think we will start. I will just submit proposals first to start discussions on what goes to the next. But based on what I observed, like workflow is what's coming next, which is a big feature. So, but like yeah, definitely, I think we can also make it optional or extended like spec as well. That's also feasible.
Yeah, I think this is related with something that was also already commented in like at least a couple of months ago. Like, what do you need to be compliant in the spec? Like, there should be some guidelines probably to how you call yourself compliant. Because for us, at the end of the day, it will be the same. Like, we are unlikely to implement part of the spec just because we are not targeting that.
I see. Yeah, there's a validation. Yeah, usually there would be some compliance tests, like just like if you run this test and it all works, this would just validate that you are compliant. That's usually how I would say Kubernetes like work before. Because like there are so many cloud providers, right? And how could you say, yeah, this is Kubernetes compliant? They sort of like run this test, and once they pass, they will be put on the Kubernetes homepage. Like there's a web page like telling that, yeah, this is compliant provider. We can.
Yeah, that lead to what my next question is. You know, Oracle just released a product that's supposed to be OAM compliant. You know, at least the 0.3 spec, whatever. So you know, what do we need to do to get listed on the website, kind of thing?
Oh yeah, that's doable. Like we have the OAM dev. Do we have it? Like, do we have it? I think we have a web page. The web page is in. Is it the website? No, dev.
OAM -dev.
There's a website,
Oh,
right? Yeah, there's a website for the OAM thing, like for the website. There's a repo for this website. Like basically, you can submit you can change the code there to add your logo and those stuff into the website.
Okay, so I'll just, I mean, I didn't want to deep dive here, but I'll just create a PR for that, and
yep, here we go. Like,
I'll have my, okay.
Yeah, so and a website here, right? So like just update this thing, and you will be able then this is basically like this is the domain we have that's pointing to oamdev.github.io, and
Okay.
which is like, yeah, so it's rendered by the GitHub itself.
All right, so but back to the the primary question. There there are no rules, right? I can just go and make a PR for that, and
Yeah. Just
having some
ping-
kind of a compliance test would be great, that kind of
Right.
thing. But
Right. Yeah, definitely. Like currently it's all like manual approval. Like we'll just check your doc and those kind of thing a little bit, like to see, yeah, this is definitely OAM. Looks like this is definitely OAM. We trust each other. Like this is like not like yeah, we have so many vendors or something like that. Like so for the beginning we will just like it's probably like just mutual trust. Like that's enough. But definitely when we grow, like we have so many vendors, we can handle that manually. We definitely need the compliance testing, like and validation to say like, yeah, this is definitely OAM compliant, and also that also requires the spec to be stable. I would say, like, because like currently we still not like reaching the stable release of the spec. It's like for example, the workflow thing is still missing. Like we need more discussion and collaboration on that as well to make it like at once to a stable point. So, but yeah, definitely, like you're more than welcome to put your name on the website. Like we welcome that.
excellent, thank you.
Yep. All right. Yep. I think that's all I have to share. Anyone has any other things to share or questions? Otherwise, I would start like writing a proposal to submit that, and then we can start more discussion on the proposal side. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Cool. All right. I think that's all we have for today. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.